as people get in, make sure you're liking to let people know that you're here, sharing it out, getting the podcast spread out there far and wide. But I'm Lewis, and then with me tonight, Drew's on the road, so we have special guest Brandon Boujou Ulch, who will only go by Boujou. His grandmother's the one who calls him Brandon. So we have Boujou with us, and you're listening to the Monday Night Rewind, which this is our 4th official episode, 3rd on a Monday, and they've been a huge hit. So certainly, Brandon. Ooh, I did it. Strike one out. Boujou, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back. The first repeat guest, I think.
You are,
Co-host, guest,
yeah,
co-host. I don't know how we're classifying it, but I'm happy to be back. I had fun the first time. Andy's skiing or whatever he's doing, so
yeah,
happy to fill in.
yeah. He's been super busy, and it looks like
Yeah, I
National
know.
Compacts has something coming up with 2027 on the line. So definitely, before we get too far in, I want to make sure that I do the shout out of presented by Monday Night Rewind is presented by National Compact Touring Series and the Midwest Compact Dirt Touring Series, and then obviously Top Row Racing Media. So again, we're live still on National Compacts tonight. We're live on Top Row Facebook and Top Row YouTube. So tonight I'm really excited. We have Eric Hoffman from the Midwest Classic Racer Dwarf Series who'll be joining us soon. We're just waiting for him to pop into our little staging area here. And then we'll also have Kenny Head. There's some breaking news at Lane Automotive over the weekend that they are going to be expanding what the mini wedges do at Kalamazoo, and will also include Berlin Raceway, where they're going to have a Sport Champ kart be as part of their program, and that's something that he'll explain more, but they're going to start with an age group, and it could potentially be up to adults too. So that's something that they're really looking at, like an 8 to 14-year-old kind of program going on, and possibly even more. So Kenny will be on at about 7:30 with us. So again, we have Eric who'll be joining us about 7:05. So once he gets in, we'll bring him in. But Boujou, beautiful weather today. Did you at least get a chance to enjoy it?
I did. Doors were open at work, so that's a nice plus.
Oh yeah.
Definitely felt like we should have been heading to a racetrack on the way home from work, though.
Soon, I saw Austin Maynard was testing today. They posted a video of that testing. So I know, as this warm weather comes, that certainly, some people are going to start getting that itch even more to get out there and get the car shake down. I think shook was the right one.
Yeah, probably.
Just to see, right? So, we don't have a whole lot of snow, it looks like, in our future at least, but certainly while we're thinking about it, I know you said your sister was in that Three Rivers area last week. How's she doing?
She was all good. They got lucky. It went right by, but scared the kids a lot. But other than that, they were all good. Not everybody was as lucky though. So definitely thinking about everybody that's
Oh
up in
yeah.
that area right now.
Well, and I know M40 was kind of like in the pathway, the way that things were shaken down, depending on how it would have gone. And then, I know they're talking about storms again tomorrow. So for Indiana viewers, just so you know, tomorrow morning, Indiana does a statewide test alert. However, St. Joe County, which is where South Bend would be, and then LaPorte County, which is just below where I am, in Berrien County, LaPorte, those two counties will not be doing a test tomorrow just because of the potential for severe weather tomorrow afternoon, evening, and tomorrow night. So otherwise, if you're in Indiana, statewide test alert tomorrow with the tornado siren. So don't be too alarmed tomorrow morning. But St. Joe County and LaPorte County, Indiana, I figure that's a nice little, just in case people haven't seen on Facebook yet, a nice little public service announcement, especially with more storms coming. I know people are really skittish about it. So just something to be mindful of and watch out for in Indiana. And then obviously tomorrow afternoon and night in Michigan, just be weather aware. That's we were at Lane Automotive on Friday. I was at the Michigan Promoters Association meeting, and that's something that I know you had messaged me going, are you good up there? And I'm looking out at the windows to see I-94. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
But I know M40 was obviously concerned because that's in their backyard. And when we all came out after the tour, I don't know if you've ever been inside Lane Automotive, like the distribution center, but
Yeah.
man, it's crazy up in there.
Crazy. Yeah.
The
As a warehouse guy, I go in there and enjoy it quite a bit.
robots going every which way. So
Yeah.
pretty crazy. And so that's something that I got to go on the tour. That was only the second time I'd been in Atlanta Automotive. So I got to really experience going around and seeing what that was like. So I know when we came out of that, we kind of looked all up at the sky and went, oh, it's about to get ugly here. So and it did. I mean, driving down 94, I'm like, just get by all these semis and I could take the back roads, and I'm, as long as I'm near Lake Michigan, I'm safe.
Yeah.
Where I am, my biggest worry would be the nuclear plant doing something versus a tornado. But I know if I go 2-3 miles inland, then, things could get crazy pretty quick. So, so certainly it's not something we want to play around with. But again, guys, we will have Eric Hoffman joining us at some point. We're just waiting for him to get in the staging area. I'm going to double check, make sure I don't have a text message from him. So if you have questions for him or Kenny Head, he'll be coming on. I'm going to send a message. We're ready when you are.
So you talked about racing coming up soon and people starting to shake down and everything. I was thinking earlier today, one thing we had to look forward to very soon is the South Bend Auto Show that I know you're involved with.
Oh yeah, and that's something that, in fact, let me get my banner up here for save the date for people who may not know that it's coming up. But the South Bend Auto Show, I know Kalamazoo will have a display again, and I know Russell's M40 Speedway will have a display. We had Megan Neff last week talk about that, and I know there will be other race cars and everything else there too. There's usually about 20 some race cars on the property, but man, with that South Bend Auto Show, I'm excited for it. I know Pam Mason and I are connected. She's the station manager, and her and I keep connecting back and forth. We're playing a lot of email and phone tag right now to try to lock down, but it's something that, that's coming up at the Century Center in downtown South Bend. It's a $10 ticket for, a couple hundred cars, probably between four different rooms, 2 floors. It's all spread out in the Century Center. So that's 9 to 7 on Saturday. And then on Sunday, it's 9 to 4. But the awards start at 3, where they'll start handing out. Their trophies that they do are pretty nice. And I know last year, a couple Kalamazoo cars got them. I know a couple, I think Austin Maynard had one that he brought home with him. Year before, we had Kenny Head who got it. So this year I'm excited because we have Bryce Bozell with his Outlaw Super Late model. Will be there. And then we have Tyler Hufford with his street stock. He'll be down there. We have Carter, who'll be coming down all the way from the Battle Creek area. It's like a 2.5-hour drive for him. He'll have his modified. Then we'll have the Ritters there. They'll have a template late model. And then Mason, also from the Bozell Racing Metzer, will have his template down there too. So all 5 spots are covered for our display area. And so I'm really excited for that because we got almost every class represented. We're running up into spring break again for some people. So between spring break and hockey and other traveling, all these things this year, again, it was a little tougher to get all 5 filled up right away. It took me a little longer than what I was hoping for, but definitely I'm excited for who we have. And I know just having the Outlaw Super Late model last year, that's one that we were missing, where I'm like, man, we need an Outlaw there, especially Intimidator 100 kicking off the season on April 17th, 100 laps. That's the 26th version of it. And then with the Legends of the Zoo, that'll be coming up in July at Kalamazoo. And then the Clash back on Wednesday, which if I recall right, Drew Jack shared at the Michigan promoter thing that it's going to be like, I think the first one was 1993. Don't quote me on the exact year. I should probably know that off the top of my head, but that it's going to be like exactly to the day from the first one running so many years ago. So that's pretty cool that it's on that Wednesday, which I know is just historically right where it's supposed to fall. Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure that it looks like I'm missing some comments here. Oh, no, we're good. All right. So I did message him to see, but I might do not do. Oh, technical difficulties going on. That's why. So we'll be a little patient. But do you want to talk a little bit about your right to race? Because obviously in Michigan, that's going in the news last week. That just started coming through. So do you want to give a little bit about the background in Indiana and how your video came to be in that we'll look to do something for the Michigan one too.
So yeah, as Lewis and I were chatting before the show started, I did a video on the right to race bill that's been proposed in Indiana and now is being talked about in Michigan. I told Lewis I haven't read into the Michigan part of it as much so far, but on the Indiana side, North Carolina and Iowa have already passed laws that protect racetracks from noise complaints within a certain radius and other nuisance complaints within reason. Obviously, you can't go crazy, but it protects racetracks from common sense complaints. Like as I said, North Carolina and Iowa have already passed it. Indiana, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Iowa, I think it were, are
Yep.
all proposing. All have proposals on the table now. I know it's House Bill 1415 in Indiana, and as you mentioned there, Michigan's kicking that idea around now too. So that would be a huge plus for both my state and your state if we could get that done in both of them.
Yeah, and I don't know how much I can share from the meeting just because for Michigan there's a lot going on, and they kind of asked, as part of that meeting that some of these things kind of keep under wraps for now. But it sounds like one thing they did share is that this is the week for people to message, there. And I'll be posting. We have an email template. It just came to us earlier today. They said obviously not everybody should send the exact same letter.
Yeah, yeah.
Change it up. So it doesn't look like it's copy paste kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But we just all got that in email, and they asked us to share that out. And so I'll be posting some things here on my website in the next day or so. That's something that it just came in. And so this is the week. It sounds like in the House, we're in Michigan, we're doing a little bit better, but it sounds like the Senate is going to be where it's going to be up for grabs. So certainly in Michigan, that's who you want to go for. Fine. And I'll have it on my website. I'll do a link like what we did with Indiana and Ohio, where I'll post, how to contact people in Michigan. That way you can, get representatives certainly on our side, because that's something that, a lot of tracks are going through some of the same struggles, and it's not always just the ones that are publicized. There are others behind the scenes who are dealing with some of it that just is not public right now, because they're kind of doing their own battle and they're not ready to rally troops, because sometimes when you rally the troops, it gets it more difficult, right? Because sometimes it just, how do I want to say this? Sometimes, and Eric's just joining us now, but sometimes people go too far,
Yeah.
and go straight to insults and all that kind of deal. And that's not, we should be contacting people, very professionally, extremely professionally. That way we get maybe further, right? If we just go to insults and attacks and start using the nicknames that Republicans and Democrats have for each other, it's not going to help. Because at least in Michigan, there's quite a few Democrats and Republicans who are all on the same page, right? It's just convincing those edge people to see why this is a positive. But I know if you go to the PRI website, you can actually get down to your county in all the states. You can get down to your county and town on how much the motorsport industry brings an economic impact. And then it won't give like track specific. So like if we went to Kalamazoo Speedway, Kalamazoo would have to figure out, how much economic impact are they directly making. But with what PRI has done is that it will say just in the motorsport industry in general, how much impact is that county and community bringing to that. So that's something that certainly there could be talking points there for people. But, one thing, hi Chris, one thing is just making sure is that professionalism when we're reaching out to politicians and everything else, because we don't want a negative interaction to be a reason where they go, well, I'm not going to support these people if this is how they're going to talk to me when they want my vote, right? So again, that's just something. I'm going to see if we can bring Eric on to see if he can hear us, because he just popped in. Eric, any luck on? Well, he's kind of here, maybe. So
Here with us in spirit.
here, yes. It's not letting him get to camera and mic, right? So right
There
now
we go.
he's trying
Oh,
to. Oh,
oh,
oh, there we go. We have success. Oh, don't hear you though. We can see you, but we can't hear you yet. So can you? Yeah, nope, still. but we can see you. So we have visual, but we do not have sound. Can you hear us? Oh, well,
All right,
we'll see what's going on, but at least we have visual right now. So we weren't,
we're
these
halfway there.
we're halfway there. We're almost to the finish line there. So, again, so that Right to Race, I'll try to get that on my website, but I'm going to be putting that video up again that you did specifically for the first initial states. But this is the week, people, to reach out to senators and House people to persuade them, to come to our side and support racing.
There we go.
We have sound.
Hey,
Hey,
together. Hi guys, how you doing?
Good.
How are
about
you, man?
Eric? We were talking about the Right to Race that we were just coming up with, and then we talked about South Bend Auto Show. So Buju got us going in a direction here while we were giving you time to work out these technical difficulties. So thank you again for just pursuing, to get through and not just giving up. And because, man, sometimes when technology just does that, I had that at Media Day last week for the 500 tour. Camera wasn't doing what it needed to do. Then Mike started not doing things it needed to. And I said, I give up. I'm going to the phone, which everyone else was using their phone. So I'm like, this year I blend in. 2 years ago, I kind of stood out being the phone guy. And everyone else had like all these fancy cameras and everything. But no, I looked around the room, at least 7 other people using their phones. I'm like, well, I stand out now. So I don't want to stand out. I want to blend in. So, but anyways, again, Eric, welcome. So you represent the MCR Dwarf cars, and one thing that you and I talked about last Friday, when I was down at the 500 tour Media Day, and then even gone to Wisconsin and obviously Southern Indiana, is Legends versus Dwarfs. So if you want to give people a background of like who you are and what you do with the Dwarfs, and then explain the difference for people joining us, what's the difference between a Dwarf and then a Legend that we see a lot of, especially on dirt?
Sure. Yeah. Well, the my experience with the dwarf cars was I started in with the series in 1997, doing some practices and then running for like 6 races for the first season, and came back in '98 full time with my own car, got Rookie of the Year, and been full time most of the season since then. So I'm pushing. I think this is like my 31st season with the club. MCR's been running for 30, we're pushing 35 years now. But that, I went on with MCR, chased down the 6 championships now. So got that. Turned into the winningest driver in the history of the club. I believe the count got a little fuzzy early on, but we're somewhere around 84 feature wins at this point in time. So it's been a great thing. I kind of stumbled across it in the first place, and I'm fortunate and blessed to have done that. It's been good for me. And then as things transition, we kind of transitioned into taking over some of the chassis company stuff, making sure parts were there because there's specialty stuff mostly for a lot of our cars. But you don't necessarily go to Lane to buy everything, but there's a lot of good all-star parts out there. We use most of those.
Right.
I'll plug in for that. And so did that for a few years. And then that was shortly after that, Steve Martin passed away, and that's what made me heir apparent to just take everything over. So the way it's set up, it's Midwest Classic Racers LLC is the parent company that sanctions the MCR Dwarf Car Series, schedule and put on all the events, keep the rule book up to date and enforce the rules, and work with new racers coming in. We run a little more of an invitational series and work with people, given the traveling type show we are, and try and keep people getting along the best we can and putting on good shows and keep the cars close and competitive. So those have kind of been our foundational points over the years, and it's worked out well. The first race we promoted was the Michigan Cup, and we had 9 cars there, and went on to averaging close to 17, and we've got our last race at Plymouth last year. We had 17 cars within a second of each other.
Wow.
So it's tight fields and qualifying, and it's tight racing, and we got a good thing going. We want to kind of keep it on this path and keep being able to do what we've been doing with that. So. And then kind of to go from the difference between a Dwarf and a Legends, I usually tongue in cheek, you just say it's at least 2 seconds a lap, with the Dwarfs being a little faster. But in reality, and it's nothing against Legends cars, they're great, and it's obviously an excellent worldwide brand. So hard to argue with what they're doing. But they're being a little slower. There's a little less structure in the front end than what our cars have in them as far as tube wise. So if you see one of our cars with the body stripped off it looks a lot like a late model or modified would look. with all the tube and stuff that's actually in it and the structure that's in it. These cars are really fast. We're running on an 8-inch slick, and we're depending on the track. The track like M40, we're knocking inside the top 5 of their late model field. Where some other tracks we're a second or so off their late models, but we fit a good speed niche, and the cars can race good. And cars can race good when the racers are willing to race good, and we've got a lot of great racers in the club. There's a tremendous amount of talent, so it's nice for an old guy like me to have to keep my skills sharp to run with them. That's for sure, because they do, and it's a great group with I don't want to start naming names and forget people because they're all special, but Matt Kemp, Greg Rudzik, Parker, Zach Nichols, all these guys and people that have come and gone too that race around. My nephew Troy's always in contention. It's just we've got a group. Steve Slater, he's really come on strong, and there's a lot of guys that have come in and done really well with it. So they're fast.
Well, and that's something that, one thing that I always liked as a fan. So, when I was a fan, first seeing you guys race down at South Bend, and then obviously when I jumped onto the media side in 2022, I've gotten to know more of the backside, right? I didn't interact with the Dwarf cars until, then I was on the media side where I got a chance to talk with the drivers. And one thing that I was always impressed with is for a traveling group, there's travel and that you guys really come and like you can guarantee there's going to be a full feature all the time, which you said, you start out with 9 cars and now you're getting, 17, 18, and that's pretty consistent. And one thing that's also that really stands out with your group, and you mentioned a couple names, you have Matt, who's won a couple championships, and other drivers, is that you have veteran racers who is part of this. And then you have those, on the younger side who are getting their career going, and that it's pretty affordable to get into the Dwarf series. So can you give people who may not know MCR, who may not have experienced it yet, how you guys attract the drivers to come in, what it might cost on average? I mean, no one's going to quote you and be like, Eric, you said,
Well, there's some different ways into it. We do some rental stuff, and I try and kind of work people through that if they're not quite sure what to do. Obviously, can be limited availability and stuff like that. But we've got Brandon Kramer, ran 85 last year through that. He's planning on coming back and doing that again. It works well for him to not have to do with storing the car, hauling the car, doing the maintenance on the car, all these things that go with it. So it's not something we do necessarily to make a bunch of money. At the end of the day, it's more to help promote the series. But then there's got to be a little something there to help offset the hard costs, the motor, eventually shocks are going to have to get rebuilt, so on and so forth. But from a racing standpoint, these cars are really affordable. New stuff is running $25,000 to $30,000 turnkey, get in it and go. Obviously, there's fancier options. If you want to price it up a little higher, you can. But then used stuff, and we've been refurbishing a lot of old stuff. There's some cars I've been running. My 1A and the 14, for example, are both basically 30-plus-year-old cars. So we've gone through and done some updates to them, but there's good structure there to them. They're all mild steel chassis. We don't allow exotic metals. And we're at a point in time where I'm really not letting the rubber band get stretched. We're pretty much at our speed threshold. If we start getting faster, things would have to slow us down. We're in a good position with everybody. We meet and talk with the insurance guys at the promoters meetings and stuff like that, and want to make sure that we're in line with where we should be, and still in a good spot with the tracks too. They like the show, they like the competitive nature, and that's up to the we work with the racers hard on that. There's times it doesn't work out with the racers, and that's a hard thing to have to do. A little bit of me leaves every time something didn't work out, but that's life. That's the promoter's life, I guess. Harder adjustments for me on that a little bit, but we do a good job with them, because we mentor, we coach. We took Matt Kemp in particular in at 18 years old, basically, and helped him, get going and stuff, and run him through cars and keep him in a car when his was down and things like that. So, we kind of do what it takes, and we work with everyone we can the best we can. I try and float around the pits and help people out. My setup book, everything we've learned over the 30 years is an open book. When I learn something new and it works, we pass it on down the line to everybody running outlaw chassis stuff, and then help anybody and everybody we can. The cars are similar, so the few of the chassis that are a little bit different typically respond well to the same things we're doing. And I work on I'm just standardizing things because we have bumpers and nerf bars that we make for our cars. So those things are going to become standard throughout the club. And then if someone's chassis needs to be adapted so it can use those parts, well, I'm here to take care of that. And here again, not doing it to line my pocket, but just doing it to make it easier for everyone. Somebody tears something up in a heat race, we want you back up for the feature. No man or woman left behind. I'm going to leave out our female racers because we've got some great female racers running with us as well. So they're like I said, I'm looking around on the sides for my list. This whole media, getting my phone working thing had me a little off as far as some of my prep. Yep. So I apologize to my racers for not being able to name you all off a little bit better, but I am proud of all of them, and ones we've had that have had to go step aside to do other things. Tristan Francis ran with us for a long time in Ohio. He's another great guy, and we're actually going to be coming up here in a little bit, heading down for his wedding. So looking forward to seeing him and Sienna get married and have some good time with some old friends down there. And then other people, like Morgan Baird, we worked with him a lot when he came in. He was racing with somebody else, but we were here to help him and his dad a lot out and give advice and just be there to answer questions for him. And we're always proud of the kind of person that Morgan is. He always represents himself well. We hope the best for these guys when they get these chances to go do some other things too. It's not anything that ever bothers me to have something that would take Matt away to go run ARCA races, and just we encourage that because that's a big feather in our cap too. There's a lot of Matt in particular with some of his ongoings and exploits has definitely built a good reputation for us in that world, and I appreciate that immensely.
Well, and that's Flat Rock, Berlin. I think he got shout outs on both broadcasts. I think one was Fox or might have been Flow. I definitely know Berlin is Flow. But I know they pointed out that he had raced there before in the Dwarf cars. And so certainly that was, good publicity for your group. And it also shows, again, the kind of talent, I think personally, that Matt deserves a full-time seat, right? He's proven in that ARCA car. Stuff.
Yeah.
And he's not in the fastest ARCA car, right? Like that's nothing against that team, right? That's their team model. That's what they have. They're not the fastest, right? And he's done some fast things in cars that aren't supposed to be like the fastest, right? So again, and he shares that ride, with a couple people, right? And so as sponsors can come about. So what's something that, when you think about, obviously, let's take Matt, for example, who's raced at Berlin, who's raced at Flat Rock, and then gets to go do ARCA at those tracks. How do you recruit the tracks that you go to and take this series to? Because I know in the past you've been at places like Springport. It's been a couple of years, but you've been at Springport. You come to Kalamazoo with Drew Jack's show. Then I know you travel around all over Michigan and down into Northwest Indiana. So for you, how do you assemble your tracks and balance not only the travel for teams, but then to bring people in and out of that?
Well, it's always a challenge, and that challenge changes a little from year to year, obviously. Racetracks. We're always out to work with every track we can. Obviously, there's only so many Saturdays we can run. With most of our people having full-time jobs, it's hard to book too many Friday shows, even though I every year wind up with a couple more maybe than I wanted. But here again, I would love to have taken a few more dates in our season this year to be able to hit one more time at Oregon, or to get another Kalamazoo, or go to Birch Run a couple times. It's just gets kind of hard to book that many shows. Right now we settled in at 18 for this next season. So we've got 8 different tracks that we're going to, which has kind of been our core lately. And here again, Springport, when they were running, we always like working with Kurt and getting a chance to go there. And times we've raced Angola, New Paris. A lot of these places around, we always had a good relationship with South Bend and the people there at Plymouth, obviously. They've had to go switch to Friday nights because of just problems, with fans, being there all the time. And I know that's hard. A lot of tracks face that, but that's, I guess, a little different topic. But ultimately, yeah, it's just some of the tracks knew us and had us in for a long time, so they were more than happy to continue on working with me. Some other tracks weren't so known. We weren't so known to them, such as Berlin. So, we got a test set up. I went on and brought a car out, did some test laps for them, talked with Jeff Striegel, talked with Mike Bursley. They liked what they saw, and then, were willing to give us a chance. So it was looking pretty good. Then, we had some of our guys go out there for practice, and once they saw them in practice, they were like, yeah, seeing 3, 4, 5 cars out there and what they can do and how they run around each other, it should be a good show, and it has been good shows there, and a lot of places, and my guys too, like not just to toot Matt's horn, because he's great, and I'm blessed to have a lot of great racing talent in this club, and even a lot of guys that come in without experience get a chance to learn from these people, and we're right here, we're accessible. Like I said, we try and be that learning club, and then while we're doing that, I think the tracks like to see that too. We'll coach with people to kind of keep them trying. We want to race clean. We race with each other, not through each other, and especially with the speed of these cars and the open wheel nature of them, things can go wrong. Just simple mistakes can be amplified. I've done it myself, even after 30 years of doing it. So, we know those things are going to happen. We just want to minimize it. We want to bring everybody home as safe as we can and go put on a show. We like to have the fans renting their seats, not sitting in them. And I hear that from the promoters too. That's what I hear from all the promoters is just keep putting on the shows you're putting on, because the fans love it. So that's seems to work. The fans like it, the racers like it. Our purse structures within MCR, I don't run top heavy to win shows. Typically our feature winners getting at about $100 more than what I'm paying everybody else. And it tapers down over top 7, 8, 10 spots, depending on the night. But, most of my nights I'm getting them, our tires are $150 a piece. So I try and use that as a benchmark for what I'm paying them to start. So they'll usually get between that and $200, depending on the track. Because there's some tracks that are, we'll get a little better deals with. So, the purse adjusts to that. And then we have, stuff go off to we have our points fund for the banquet at the end of the year, and the funds out of that. And then some additional support. We get some great sponsorships too, the professional, the PSS&C and All-Star and Jethro FM, Hoax Graphics. We do some stuff with Outlaw Chassis with it. It's just, we do the best we can with what we get going in. And like I said, I try and keep it kicked back. I know what it's like for everybody out there. Like I said, been doing it for a long time. So, keep the grind alive. And yeah, we try and, like when we have double headers, I try and keep them as close as we can, but sometimes it doesn't always work out. We did do a couple years ago, a Birch Run on Friday and then South Bend on Saturday. But usually it's not that big of a haul. I mean, that last year we did Flat Rock to Whittemore, but that actually wasn't too bad in the realm of travel through Michigan, but you never know. And this year, yeah, we worked out with another doubleheader where we had Plymouth on July 10th and M40 on July 11th. So at least those are nice and close together. So we'll take the little Mary band and run on down the road and have us a little camp out.
So you mentioned that you set an 18 race schedule for this season. On this show a couple weeks ago, Drew Jack from the NCTS National Compact Series mentioned that he cut his schedule down to 10 recently. Are you still seeing success with driver retention over that 18 race schedule? I know it's well mapped out and it's 8 tracks, as you mentioned, but do your drivers like that longer season?
They do. And it depends on the racer. I've got some racers that are going to go. They're going to run the full schedule. Even if it was more local, they'd hit more. There's other racers that are going to be a little more regional to where they're at, or they've got work commitments that come up here. There are family stuff that's going on. So it's kind of nice because we might have some tracks we go to where maybe we wind up with 12 or 14 cars, but those 12 or 14 cars that are there are going to put on a great show. And that kind of helps offset some of the fluctuation maybe in the car counts. And then the scheduling is just kind of how things go from year to year. I mean, I had some stable things going on, but then the racing economy changes a little bit. We usually would run the bookending holidays at Owasso, and now they weren't doing any holiday stuff this year, so we kind of rearranged that a little bit, and then we'd usually end our season at Plymouth with the show, well, South Bend, and then Plymouth with the showdown. But now it's been hard for Kevin to run that. They just have a hard time getting people in the stand. So he's having a hard time losing money at that time of the year. So they're just, at this point in time, they pulled the plug on it. So, which worked out well for us. We managed to put some stuff together with Jeff Striegel there. So we're going to go to the Fall Festival Speed at Berlin and run a Friday show and a Saturday show with the stuff that's going on there. So it's going to be exciting. That'll be our championship weekend. And yeah, you got to go throw down a couple features at the end for it. So And it could well be come down to that, because there's years that maybe somebody's locked in about 3 or 4 laps into the race or halfway through the race, but it's usually been tight enough that, things still had to work out that last day. So we'll see.
And it's come down, 2 years in a row now to that last day, or pretty close to, or even like
pretty much.
I mean, that I know there is, it feels like at least it's been the last couple of years where it's really come down to the wire, where every position matters, which just again shows how tight your group is. Too. Ooh, got an insect that decided to pop down on me. I don't know where it came from, but I'm not liking that. And now, real quick, we have only about 2 more minutes here. And then I know Kenny had already in the stage area for your group, because Kenny's going to be talking about mini wedges, and they have champ carts that are coming to the series here. And I won't steal all of his thunder. I'm going to give him plenty of thunder. Right. But for your MCR dwarf cars, are there an age? Is there an age limit? Is there?
We are at 18. We're an adults only club. We're an 18 to come in. It was 16, 15 with running quite a while, but just a lot of it goes back to things you hear in the promoters meetings from the insurance guys. And personally, me, especially with younger people, I've tried some things. I had problems sleeping at night with it. I'd hate to see anyone get hurt or killed, but even more so if it was somebody younger. And then sometimes just unfortunately the way some racer parents can be, they're not much fun to be around, and I don't, we get along good enough as it is, hopefully. And that's, and it's hard too, because, it's just like I said here again, the speed of the cars, the close quarters, it's hard enough to get adults to get along. Right. So for right now, we're content with that. And the same thing, just like dirt, our cars are a little bigger nationally on dirt. Our pavement enclave is kind of around here, and I hear that quite often about going to run dirt with them. Right. It's just it's a big changeover, especially with the slick and whatever else. But I'm crazy. You never know. Never know what we're going to get into these days. One of these days. So I haven't officially said no. Drew works me over pretty hard on that, but then we appreciate our relationship with him and all the tracks. They do a great job supporting us, and we really appreciate the chance to come in and do shows and support with guys like with the media work you all do too. That's pretty phenomenal. We appreciate that. And like with our series, we get Renee Nichols travels around with us when her schedule allows, and she does a great job putting pictures up for our racers to use, and along with the rest of the track photographers do spectacular jobs at their given facilities as well. So we're proud to be part of this motorsports community, and I've been in it for a long time and hoping to be in it for a long time yet and keep this going and growing. And yeah.
Before we let you go, what is that? You were talking about speeds and that kind of deal. What is the fastest that a dwarf has gone, and at what track?
Right now on our schedule, our fastest given track is probably M40 Speedway.
Oh, okay.
Our record there is right around 13-second laps, and that puts us in the 110, 15 mile an hour range coming into turn 3. So Berlin, the other tracks were 90s pushing the hundreds top speeds or just over, but that place just, we really get cooking around there. So, but as a racer, it's another one. It's a fun track to be on. I love all the tracks. What's my favorite? And I can't pick a favorite, because every one of them has things that as a racer just make you, get up on the wheel and go find that spot. Again, just, like Harry Gant had back in the day with racers, when you could call yourself a racer, that was something. And it just, I've enjoyed the chances to do it.
Well, again, Eric, I know we had some technical difficulties getting you on, where between your phone and your laptop is just giving you all the crazy in the world, right? And so we definitely appreciate you persevering through that and not just giving up and saying, I quit with this. Screw you guys, I'm going home, kind of deal. And we'll have Matt Kemp on March 23rd on the show. He'll be joining us, to talk a little bit more about his career. And he'll be talking about, even his ARCA goals and goals beyond that. So I know we'll have a little bit more dwarf conversation coming up. But again, thank you so much for joining us. And again, people go out and everybody, certainly follow along with MCR Dwarf Car. You won't find a traveling series as consistent with, car counts. I mean, obviously Drew with his front wheel drives does a really nice job. But I know Super Cups sometimes struggle a little bit, some other division. And it's just, if I see dwarfs, I'm like, oh, that's guaranteed 14, 15 minimum. I mean, that's minimum. Yeah. So again, you've done such a nice job with that. And you have just a crazy amount of talent in that series. So again, big kudos to you for taking that on in a time when promoters and owners are jumping out. You jumped into it to continue this legacy. So we appreciate you for joining us today.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on, and I appreciate all the hard work you guys do. Like I said, proud to be a part of the community and do what we can to hold it up and push it forward. And yeah, let's go chase some more checkered flags.
Well, absolutely. And I know you have 18 races, so I think they're all on or you're releasing them slowly, right? You're doing like a slow release, or is the full schedule on?
Well, my media manager, not to drop any names, Matt Comp, has been a little busy lately, so they're working through getting the official print version of it together. It's all been put out. I've handed it out to the racers, so they can do their working with it. But yeah, it's I think we're going to just put the schedule out and then maybe push the events a little bit more. But I'll double check with my people on that and see what the final plan was.
All right. Well, again, Eric, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we'll be sure when you post that, we'll share that out just to help spread the word for the Dwarf car. So, as always, thank you for what you do for the sport.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. We'll talk to you later.
Okay. Y'all have a good night.
Again, thank you.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
All right, so we walk, as we say, bye to Eric. We then now have Kenny Head, and I know people have been waiting for Kenny Head too, right? So, again, Kenny, thank you for hanging around a little bit in the staging area as the last conversation closed up a little bit. So, welcome to the Monday Night Rewind.
I'm just happy that I'm on without technical difficulties, I hope.
He was battling that, and then I felt bad because I'm like, well, I don't want to shortchange him either, but I don't want I want to respect your time too. So, so luckily he got all of his big messaging out. So again, thank you for hanging out for a little bit. But I know a lot of people have been like, "Where's Kenny? Where's Kenny?" Kenny's here.
Yeah.
So who's Kenny?
Yeah, I'm an old racer. That's me. I'm now retired from the big cars and run on this mini wedge program. So it's kind of keeping me busy enough. So keeping my mind off from racing those big cars. I'm actually in what used to be my race shop. Now it's just holding all the stuff that goes back in the mini wedge trailer here. I think we're like 5 weeks away from being on the track the first time for practice, and just looking forward to it. Got a bunch of new things going on this year. Just very excited. We're just ready to get back to the track.
Well, and I know we just had the banquet a few weeks ago, and you won the Legacy Award there. So before we touch too much on the mini wedges and all the things that are coming up, just for people who don't know everything you've done in racing, right? Like, what did that Legacy Award mean to you when you got that with Billy Shannon? And then I know Donnie Bress was part of that whole gathering on the stage.
Yeah, it was very special. I mean, I've been doing this for many, many years. I'm a third generation driver as it is, and I'm in 40 plus years of racing. My dad raced, both my grandfathers raced, and obviously, my brother races. Both my nephew and my son both race now. It's kind of my whole thing with keeping this mini wedge thing going, or getting these young kids into racing, is to keep the sport alive long after we're gone. And I think it's an important give back for me. But as far as the Legacy Award goes, I'll definitely say, obviously the championships are very, very special. I mean, chase those for a long time. But I'll definitely say next to the championships, I'll probably put that in my top awards that I've ever received. So I appreciate Donnie, the crew there at the Kalamazoo Speedway. Very touching having Andy there. Andy Bozell's been a friend. He's been a mentor. He's also, he stepped in when my dad passed away, and he really helped me get through some things or whatever with advice. And if I ever had a question, man, that guy's right there. Hell, if I needed to borrow, it didn't matter what it was. I mean, the guy gave me the shocks right off his car one time. I mean, I just loved the family, but Andy's very special and very, very, very much part of what was the success of my career.
Well, I know when he talks, I listen. There's some advice things he shared, and I'm like, and someone said, well, I'm not quite sure. I said, if you knew his resume and you're just going to listen, right? Because when someone like that shares advice, you don't deny that advice. You don't pass up on that advice. And so I just appreciate who he is as a person too, and
Yeah,
he's there with everybody, right? He'll connect with people and tell stories, and I sometimes miss out on the story where I'm like, how come you got the story and I didn't, right? Like I missed it by like 2 minutes. And so,
yeah.
but I mean, he's that way with a lot of people. So definitely seeing that on the stage a few weeks ago, that was incredible, right? It's kind of like just a lot of generational history right there, a lot of just history in itself there for Southwest Michigan Racing. So again, kudos to you on your amazing career that you had. And I know now you're going to take that legacy and build it into the many wedges. So what is that looking like for you? You have so much breaking news coming out of Lane Automotive.
Yeah, I've got so much things to even talk about, really. I mean, we've got, I mean, we don't have enough time to talk about everything we really have going on, because of, what we have is we have 15, our program consists of 15 volunteers of great people that are committed to doing this program with us at Kalamazoo and Berlin. I've had many people reach out to us to try to have, I want to help other racetracks doing what they're doing. I mean, I'm more than happy to keep, giving advice or come on down and see how we run things. But we just don't have the capacity. I mean, most of the people that help me on our Wednesday and our Saturday shows and our Sunday shows, a lot of them are racers themselves, or they're like Joe. He's our safety director along with uh, Eddie. I mean, they both do our safety, and then our announcer is the same announcer that Kalamazoo uses. So I mean, a lot of the stuff that I would love to do 35, 40 shows a year, but it's just not possible with the people I have. But I have an amazing group of people that help us. That actually I can't say help. That they are this program, and I'm very, very honored to have these kind of people help us. But as far as news goes, I mean, there's so many things to talk about. The champ car thing is one of the things we will probably get to or whatever. But I mean, we've got new things going out. We have a new website coming out. Hopefully, we'll have that up and running. We just pretty much got that ready to float. We got a new track photographer. There's going to be a little bit different layout of the racetrack. We're changing Victory Lane up a little bit. We have two classes that we're actually adding this year. We're actually starting a rookie class, which is actually based off the same exact rules that the other two classes are, except for it have a box stock right out of the box at Harbor Freight. You grab that motor out, $150. You throw it on that car, and you go and race. It's got a specific clutch and a specific gear that you'll have to run or whatever, but it keeps them slow enough and keeps them tame enough where, somebody that's never raced before can come out and play. We've got the new series coming also. That'll be known as the Hemi Challenger carts. So we didn't want to piggyback off everybody else's thing or whatever. I know there's a couple other series out there. We're going to kind of have our own. But we're working on actually trying to get price on. We're going to have our own track safety lights. So all complete wireless system. That's what we're working on anyways. But we got lots of plans for a lot of things. But yeah, the champ cart is only just even scratching the surface what we want to do.
Wow. And well, I know we kind of talked about that the track will be a little bit bigger. So for people who don't know, this is the first year that the Dwarfs, we just talked about Dwarfs. Drifting is done at Kalamazoo this year. They have one show. And then I know Randy will be working on sealing the infield and obviously all the lines. And so they'll be far more permanent than what they have been because they'll last a lot longer than, when you have the drifting going all over it and pretty much within a weekend or two, they're done. So what's something that you plan to do? You've had a technical track. So even if for people who don't know your mini wedge track to like, if they're familiar with like a Springport or a Thunderbird or even down at Plymouth or South Bend or wherever they've been, Rumble and Fort Wayne, you've always set up like a very technical track. So you want to kind of give people an idea of like what your track layout has been in the past and why you designed it that way, and what your goal was that, and then what it might look like in the future?
My sight on this, and I say mine, it's the entire group, but I really want a young driver to learn how to race close quarters. I want them to learn how to use the gas and the brake. I want them to we run this program just like a normal track would on like a Friday, Saturday night. I mean, we qualify, we run heat races, we run features. We mentor the kids. I mean, I spend a lot of time, with different drivers. Have adults ask me, "Hey, man, can you talk to my driver?" And what have you. But our track is very technical. I mean, you do have to use the brake and you use the gas, and you have to, there's a way to enter the race, enter the track, or enter the corner, and then exit the corner. So we keep it pretty technical. It's not a really big track. I'll be honest with you, Fort Wayne is way too big for what we're doing. The kids are out there; they're lost in the middle of those straightaways. I mean, they're just, I don't know. It's really. I watched it, but it was. I mean, it was an experience. We had a good time, and the experience was good. But I think that really wasn't made for a mini wedge. The go-karts do really good on them. They're fast. But the mini wedge needs, as far as how I see things going, it needs to be a lot more technical. So they're actually grabbing a skill, learning how to run side by side and using that gas and brake and the steering wheel, wrapping it exit in this corner or whatever, and actually kind of keeping that steady wheel, pretty hands, I guess if you really want to call it. And we've got some really, really good drivers.
Well, I know I see Cindy just popped on. So not only with amazing drivers, but if you want to take a quick moment while we're transitioning here to shout out your 15 volunteers, and even if you don't know all the names, I definitely know you have Taylor Sexton, and she's been doing it for quite a few years too, with you and working with you, and even with Drew Jack when they had the Great Lakes mini wedges. So if you want to shout out your people really quick too.
Yeah, Taylor's amazing. She gets, I mean, this might take a while if we're going to do this, but I mean, Taylor gets right down on those kids' level, and talks to them. She don't talk at them. I mean, she gets right in there and speaks their language. And when she's on the receiver, she does a very good job. So I'm very, very lucky to have her as far as our program goes. Her mom is actually part of our scoring and takes care of a lot of the paperwork. She's our treasurer for our program. My wife's the secretary. She takes care of everything, so I don't have to, as far as getting all the paperwork around and what have you. We've got Joe. He's the head of KTS. He's our safety director. Him and Eddie both. Like I said, we have an amazing group of people, and they're top notch. We have Dale McGann, Tyler McGann. Tyler's out there when he can. He's our flagman. Eddie fills in when he's not there. Chris Blanche is an amazing. He's our tech inspector. We kind of proud actually. We were pretty happy with the outcome of the Rumble. We actually took 6 motors home with us. Impounded those, took them home, tore them down. And luckily and thankfully that everybody passed tech with no problem whatsoever. But he's not afraid to get in there and dig into those. And we also have my old crew chief, Todd. He's him and his daughter's helping us this year. I'd hate to even miss anybody, but we've got so many people that just are. Penny, which is Joe's wife. She's going to be doing our scoring this year. So it's a great group of people. I mean, it really is, and it's so much fun. And I hate the winter because it's actually I try to have meetings about once a month just so I can catch up with these people because they are a great group of people, and this whole thing's fun.
And that's what it's supposed to be about, right? Is that fun? And so, do you want to talk a little bit about how you've structured the program? Where I know you've had like point champions and that kind of deal, but there's some things that you do maybe a little different than other tracks. And so, what is it that you look in terms of the structure and not only keeping the fun in this for the kids, but then how you want to develop them as racers as they eventually, hopefully, right? Take maybe over like a dwarf car or get in a late model, get in a street stock or travel and be an international racer. Like what is your structure and then your hope and what that structure does?
It's a tough when you hear about some of the things that, and actually your last guest was talking about how difficult sometimes it can be with parents. We've been pretty lucky over the years and over the last couple of years, and we've got good parents. But we make sure that we have guidelines. One thing that I don't allow is you don't do hand signals with the drivers when they're on the racetrack. You let them do their job. I mean, I watched for the first 5 weeks of doing this program, and there's parents that are putting their arms up in the air, looking like they're trying to get an airplane to come land and what have you. I didn't know what the hell they were saying, and I was right there looking at them. And how are you doing that at 35 miles an hour when this kid's trying to drive a car? Leave them alone, let them do their job, and then you coach them when you get done, when they get out of the car. For the most part, the parents have been great. We have an understanding. Let's put it that way. I don't. We don't take abuse. Like I said, all of my people that help us, they are all volunteers, and they give their time, so that we definitely do not allow the bashing. And if you're not having fun, we don't want you there anyways, because that's the whole thing. This is supposed to be for the young drivers. Okay. When it comes to being dad has a bigger ego and he's got to do this to make sure Joey ends up winning this race or whatever, well, then we just won't keep that team there. I just don't deal with that very well. Let the driver do the work, let them do their job. If you decide you're gonna bend my rules, the thing is you know what? We may not be the smartest people out there or whatever, but between all of us and them 15 people that are in our crew, we have well over about 600 years of experience in racing. Good luck getting it by us, to be honest with you. So, but I mean, my goal is to get these kids at the big track. I want to watch them race on Friday night, Saturday night. You know what? If they go farther than that, you know what I do. Without money, you're not going much farther than the local area. Anyways, I want to see another, an Andy Moselle. I want to see another. I mean, Billy Sheehan. I want to see those guys race on the racetrack. So, but to start off with, you get these kids that are just getting in the car. They have no idea where to be on the racetrack, and seeing their face when they get out, they're smiling, having a good time, throwing a football. And then about a month to two later, then they're beating the front bumper off the car, out there racing and they're side by side. It's an amazing feeling. It really is.
Well, and that's something that if you want to talk a little bit about, like how can people get into a mini wedge for one, and what that looks like, and that I know you guys are going to be doing like a practice day or test and tune meet and greet sort of deal where, come out, try it out. And I know you have Wedge Innovations as a partner who offers equipment to do that. So if you want to talk a little bit even about that, and then, what those moments are like when you see a kid who goes from what the heck am I doing to now they're putting their nose in the mix and right, they're ready to go.
Yeah. We're going to do a try ride on April 12th. We're going to have a sign up because we don't want 100 kids, but we're going to talk to some of the parents, and we're going to get some cars tuned down so we can run them that way or whatever. And we'll be asking for help here in the next week or two, get that all set up or whatever. But we're going to run a try ride. We're going to run practice, safety. We're going to do a safety inspection that day also. Get all the paperwork filled out, kind of getting ready for the season. But that tri ride is definitely a way to get started. We've actually taken, I think after our tri ride last year, I think we had four or five people actually out of that tri ride actually grow with us or whatever. Now, this is something I recommend too. Is you don't need a brand new car to start off with when you're starting off this mini wedge thing. There's plenty of used ones out there for sale, and get your feet wet. See what that driver is gonna, if they're even gonna like it for one. Get it started. You're gonna bend up some wheels. You're gonna bend up some spindles and stuff like that. Body panels. Get that out of their system first, and then if you really want to go, then you go get an updated cart and you get but I wouldn't spend the big money right off the get go. I've seen cars out there ready to go from $3,000 to $4,500 for really good cars. So the safety equipment is it's a little expensive, but you can't replace those kids. So I don't see that as really expensive. I just see that as really smart.
So
kind of what. Oh, sorry, Lewis.
Go ahead, Bouger.
What Kenny was touching on there, talking about keeping costs reeled in at the beginning and not trying to go all out right at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I think the structure of mini wedges lends itself so great to that learning structure instead of trying to shove a kid out there to compete. It's such a great opportunity to get seat time, as you said, learn race etiquette, learn how to drive a car. It's such a perfect structure for learning, and I think it's probably one of the better youth series that we've seen over the course of racing through time. I feel like youth racing is in a really good spot, and mini wedges here are especially found a groove. You've had nothing but praise in the comments here. So what's the biggest thing you're looking forward to in this? You've mentioned all the changes you have coming over the season. So what's your biggest rose for the season?
My biggest take out of this, really, quite honestly, I've already gotten it. I mean, I love what we're doing. The kids' smiles on their faces are worth, like I said, we run our program as a nonprofit organization. We do, we're 501c3. I mean, we are a C3. We're a nonprofit organization. So everything that we take in goes right back into our program. So there's no one taking a paycheck out of this. We're not putting any money in the bank for anything other than the stuff that we need to make this thing work. But my pay 100% is the smile on these kids' faces, not just the kids, because I mean, honestly, the parents, I mean, I would say you always have that 5% people that no matter what you do, they're not going to be happy, and I get that. I've been around the racetracks for years. I helped Gary Howe with Kalamazoo Speedway for about 12 years. And he always coached me, you know what, there's 3,000 people here and you got 30 pissed off people. It's 1%. Take it. You know what I mean? I'm good with that. We actually went to a meeting. We were looking at maybe doing another program, like a season ending, at a place up north. And the guy asked me, he said, how do you see success in this program? How do you feel this would be at the end of this? How do you see this being a successful program? And there's a couple different answers or whatever. And I'll say this, a successful program to me is when those people leave that racetrack and they can't wait to come back to the next time. That's successful to me. And we have people that, I mean, they are just chomping at the bit to get back at the big track, or get back at our track and do this. We went up to Clio this weekend and watched the races up there. It was just to get away to see some new faces and what have you. But people are itching, especially with the weather like it is today, looking to get outdoors and do some racing. But my pay, really honestly, is to see the faces, the smiling faces. I love it. That's payment enough for me as far as that goes.
And so do you want to talk a little bit about the sponsors too? Like you talked a little bit about, the 15 volunteers who you have and who's part of that. So obviously with no one taking a paycheck from this, you guys are a volunteer, you're putting a lot of your own, time, money, energy into this. So who else, helps you out with the Kalamazoo Mini Wedge program? And for people who don't know, you also go to Berlin too. So you're doing, 2 tracks, and I know you have a like alternating schedule between the two. So even if you want to touch a little bit about like where you guys race and how people can watch, or how can they come, what does it cost to come watch the kids, etc.
Yeah, we like I said, it'll be on our It's going to be on our Facebook page. Our schedule is. We do run some Wednesday night shows at Berlin. I think we'll end up with, I think 6 of those. We'll end up running a Wednesday night show up there, which is still kind of laid back. We can kind of do like what we do at Kalamazoo. I think we have 6 shows that are a Saturday night, so we're putting the mix up there, and it's kind of crammed into their schedule. They do very good with us. I mean, they really love our program. But we're part of the big show. I mean, they get to race. These kids race under the lights, and they're racing in front of a fan base. It's fun. And then we have our Sunday shows at Berlin or at Kalamazoo. So I think we're at 24 shows this year right now. So like I said, if it wasn't wearing the people out, the people that help us, I would have 30, 35 shows. I'd probably do it every weekend if we could, but I know we can't. But that's just me right now, just to keep my mind off from the big track stuff or whatever. But Cindy and I are going to be doing some traveling this year, checking out some other programs. I'm kind of excited about that, to see how they do other places or whatever. But I don't know where I was going with that. I kind of lost track about, but I'm just excited about the whole season. So,
well, I know,
sounds like a busy retirement.
Yeah.
it helps. I'll tell you that for sure. Yes.
Well, I think it was Auto City just posted that they're looking into mini wedges. Obviously, Corgan Oil does some mini wedge stuff. I think they've been to M40 like once or twice in the past, and then obviously Kalamazoo, Berlin. I know some dirt tracks who are doing
several dirt tracks.
Mm-hmm. They have quite a few representation. You have the indoor mini wedge series. You have a brand new mini wedge series that's traveling around. They were at MS or MPSA. Michigan Speedway Promoter Associations. Yeah, that's a mouthful, by the way. MSPA, and so there's quite a few. But before we forget, where we were going is like sponsors too, like who helps, because obviously it's you, Cindy, and your 15 volunteers, and you're going back and forth between tracks, and that's time and all that. And I know obviously at the Rumble, you guys were the tech team this year, right? And a lot of people complimented, even their staff said that was one of the most organized groups that we've ever had come through here, because you took care of it all, right? They didn't have to worry about the mini wedges. They turned around and they're already in the hot chute. They're already ready to go. They're waiting, right? Yeah. So if you want to touch base on who has helped out with that.
Helping out, we got very minimal help. We do. I can't say minimal because I mean a lot of the people that are on our team, they put money into this. I mean, Chris Blanche. I mean, he buys tool up. His wife's watching. I'm probably going to get him in trouble, but he needs a new tool band. He just wants to go out and buy it, and then he's really big on making sure that we have everything we need for the tech part of it or whatever. McGann's have been all great about helping us out. Of course, Top Row was one of our big sponsors last year for the Rumble, and Lewis, I really do appreciate that. That helped us out tremendously. We are currently looking for sponsors. We're putting a sponsorship package together, which is kind of a little bit late. But to get this, a lot of these new things that we want to get, which is the light system and stuff like that, it's going to take a little bit more money than what we have right now. But we've got our hands in a couple places or whatever. I think we're going to end up with it. It's just going to be a matter of time. But we have a lot of people, like parents, that'll just slip us a couple $100 or hey man, you're doing a great job. Thank you. Here's this. So that part of it, we went to Super Shoe last year. We did a silent auction, 50-50. So we took a lot of money into that, and a lot of that goes right into our banquet. or tools and equipment, stuff like that. So, but yeah, like I said, we're currently looking for sponsors. If anyone would like to help, contact me or Joel. I'm sorry, our president. We'll get him set up with a good sponsorship program.
And then for people who don't know, what tires are you guys using? What's that kind of looking like? Because I know that there's a change last year where you guys did a switch over. And so for people who are looking into even getting this started, obviously Wedge Innovations is a partner and they can be a resource. There's other builders out there too, I know.
Mhm.
But I know Wedge has been very involved. But I know Cobra has been in the past. Are you guys staying with Cobra, or what's that
We're
look like?
staying with Cobra. We're actually all the tires that were available when they first started this program with Hoosier and Burris. I don't know the numbers right offhand or whatever, but those two tires are still legal. And then Cobra is actually and just kind of plug on them a little bit. 150 bucks, I think, is 160 bucks for a full set of tires. Man, you can race on half the year. And you know, again, trying to keep that dollar amount down. That's another reason why we went to well, everyone else is too, but this Predator engine, the 212 Predator engine, we make sure they stay stock. I have a couple of Predator engines sitting in the trailer, and if we feel that somebody is decided they want to hop theirs up or whatever, in the middle of the day, I could grab one of those engines out, slap it into their car or whatever, take their engine if I want. I mean, that's kind of, and it's on us if we want to try to do that. But it's more of a thing to try to keep the cost down, and that Cobra tire has helped us with that by a long shot. So tires are kind of a non-issue, really, if you want it to be. You can still run the Hoosiers, but a lot of times, this is what I've heard anyways, a lot of times you're buying right sides every other week for Hoosier. So I mean, it's entirely up to you what you want to do.
And I know a little bit of a rumbling. You know, some people have talked about it in the comments, and I know it's kind of a plan, and you don't have to certainly open the door on it today or tonight. You've kind of explored an indoor-y kind of event, and I know lots of people have been asking about that in the comments. So again, you don't have to touch that with a knife.
No, I'll touch base. This is probably the best place for it, to be honest with you.
All yours.
I'm currently looking for a place. I've actually toured about 2 places or whatever. I'm just looking for a place to do it. Looking for some place where we can actually, not so much park all the haulers inside and stuff like that, but I'd like to have a place where we can set up a track and then bring all of our equipment in, park inside, and I'd like to maybe even have it opened up to maybe a little bit more than just mini wedges. Of course, we'll take them, hopefully be bringing our new class in, that obviously we got to talk about that real quick too. So that, and then we talked about maybe even the quarter midgets, we've got a couple more people to talk to, but I'm currently in the market for a place to hold. I'd like to have about 5 shows through the winter. That's in the works, because it's too boring to sit here doing nothing all winter. So
well, and there's a market for it. I've seen a lot of our drivers from this area travel around to some indoor dirt shows. Obviously the Rumble's a big one, but some indoor dirt shows. I know Marion County and Ohio just had a couple of our drivers down there for mini wedges. And so if they're willing to travel 5-6 hours from this area to go race, it's kind of saying, hey, there's a market in this area to get them here. I know there's an indoor league already in Michigan, but not everyone maybe from this side of the state, especially in the winter, wants to go, all the way across to the other side of the state. So it's like Kalamazoo is kind of like that perfect Battle Creek, kind of perfect area to maybe land something.
Yeah, we went to Clio on Sunday. We had to get up nice and early. The time change and everything like that. The alarm went off 3 times, and I said to Cindy, I said, "You sure you still want to go?" And she popped up, and we took off. But that's almost a 2.5 hour drive for us to, not hauling a trailer or anything like that. That's just driving there. So and they had a good show. We had fun. But yeah, I think there's a market for it. I really do. And I think there's a place for these kids to not be so idle all winter long. Keep them in, keep them busy. That might help keep their grades up for school too. As far as keeping them busy and give them put that carrot in front of them. If we're going to race this weekend, you got to have this, XYZ taken care of. So yeah, I really think there's a market for it for sure. And I'm, again, it's just something I'd love to do it. I mean, I really like the chance to do it if we can just find a place to do it.
Speaking of place to do it, I think we've held off almost as long as we can. I know people are really excited for the cart, the new cart. So if you really want to open the doors on that too and bring the floodgates out and kind of go over what that's looking like, because again, you have a lot of these goals, and if anyone has proven that they're going to follow through on these goals and they're not just going to give up, they want to achieve those goals. How did that come about, and what's your vision for that?
Well, the thing is this champ looking cart that everybody has. Well, we've already got some rumblings going on, and it's kind of funny. We just did a debut of the car, at the safety summit, and we've already got grumblings of that somebody's not liking what we're doing here. We're not like what we're doing here yet, and why are we doing this? No one even knows what our rules are going to be yet. For one, let us get those out first before you start complaining about what we're going to do. I know there's some champ carts laying around, and they will be legal. We don't have to run this specific cart that you've seen down at Lane Automotive. You don't have to run that particular chassis. These cars are. I mean, I know that there's probably a bunch of them sitting in garages somewhere. The one thing different with what we'll have in our program, the one thing that I really push hard for is safety. The one thing that'll be different from in our class compared to anyone else's is our carts will have a full containment seat. There's no option. I mean, you will have a full containment seat with the right belts, all updated equipment. So it's kind of the only difference, other than what's really cool is that we'll be able to take our 212 Predator engine right out of our mini wedge, pop it right on this car, change the pipe, take out the restrictor, and go race. So, but let us get the rules out. That before we start complaining. Again, we're going to try to keep this as financially stable as we possibly can, and keep everything easy to play with or whatever. This class is kind of going to be the bridge between after actually age out of the quarter or the mini wedges, and then try to fill that gap between going to the big cars. I figure like 12 to 18 is kind of where you're going to be. We have a lot of young kids that are bigger. They're and tall. A lot of them have a hard time fitting in these mini wedges now. So we'll probably see them in that car. But our goal in this successful part of this right here, I'm hoping to have 10 to 15 of these by July at our track racing.
Well, I know you
now there are also some grumbling too, because all the interest we had Saturday was all the old men or all the old racers that were like, "Hey man, I want to get into this." So Todd was joking about the beer league. We'll do that on Wednesday night or whatever. But I'm gonna concentrate on the kids first. So.
One, and with insurance, a lot of people probably don't know that, at least in the United States of America, there's only 2 places that really do insurance for racetracks and motorsports. There might be 3. K&K thought maybe there's 3, but really there's 2 core people who write policies and all that. And so I know one thing that has been a big discussion at tracks all over the nation. You see it on Facebook all the time. Is like age requirements. So this could potentially help like if a kid's aging out of mini wedges or getting close to that and they want to go a little faster, do a few more different things, but they can't quite get into a big car yet because maybe this track you can't race until you're 18. Maybe this track you won't be able to do it until you're 16. That potentially this could help, especially if insurance tightens down a lot on, like they were very clear. There are certain ages that shouldn't be racing a pro late model. We don't care who the family is, right? Like they just shouldn't be jumping in that because they might have grown up in it. They might be exposed to it, but when they get on the track, that doesn't mean they know what to do with people who've been racing for 30 years or 20 years or 10 years. And they said, of course, it's case by case, but I know insurance companies are really starting to tighten down on some of the things that, at least based on, again, national conversation, tighten down on some of these ages that are getting out on the track.
Yeah, there's some very vocal, I guess I want to say, old racers, even NASCAR racers that are really, really vocal about the young driver running these pro series late models, and they don't think that these 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds need to be racing. I see it a little bit both ways. It's hard to argue with the Bozels when as many laps as Bryce has. I'll race with him about every single day over half the people that we raced with in our class last year, because the kid has so much car control. It's all about laps. And you can get that with he started off, he was running mini wedges. He ran quarter midgets. He's been in that stuff too, but hell, they probably turned 3,000 laps at M40 in a race car before they even set him loose in a race. So they did it right. So, but I see both sides of it. There's some young kids in racing that obviously daddy's money gets them a long ways. And that probably would definitely be a case by case deal or whatever. But
yep.
I think it could go either way. So, but yes, I think this bridges the gap from that 14-year-old to 18-year-old before they get in a big car on the big track.
Yep, especially as tracks change rules or adapt to whatever they're being told, right? Sometimes it's insurance saying we're just not doing that, right? And I know sometimes that might make fans or drivers or others frustrated, but sometimes these tracks are handcuffed in a way, right, where they really don't get a choice. It's if they want to open their gates and do these things, these are the rules they have to follow. And I know they do have individual insurance that some of these places are selling to even help with that, and like, hey, we'll come out and we'll watch, as you said, log laps. We're going to watch laps. We're going to see. And so that's not saying here, right? But the national conversation, that's kind of been a big thing coming across Facebook. So, so it's like, ooh, that's kind of scary, right? Because instantly I think of Bozels, right? Like, man, he won a championship and he might not be a 20-year career, but he's racing out there with respect and knows what to do. He's not crashing people. He's not putting people in the wall. But again, locally, we can pick out names that would disprove those theories, but then I'm sure, they have Flow Racing video, or they have Racing America video, or they have some video somewhere that says, here's Exhibit A. And you're like, okay, I can't argue with that. Sorry.
I won't give any names. I won't say any names, but there's people that have been racing for many, many years. And I would much rather race against somebody that comes from over there in turn 3 at that quarter midget track, or my mini wedges track. I'd rather race with them all day long than race with the people that we race with it sometimes. Because the car control that they have is really unbelievable. I think the coaching, especially that Bryce has had, he's level-headed, great kid. But I think that it's all how you're brought into the sport. Some people will never get it. They'll never understand how or where a car's supposed to be on the racetrack or whatever. And it's all about who coached him and who got him into it. Mm-hmm. So, but Bryce is he's a hell of a wheel. And you know what? Again, we've had kids come from the quarter midget track over to Kalamazoo, even the last guy, Taylor's one of them. I raced side by side with Taylor for 15 laps and we never touched. Again, the laps that she's had at the quarter midget track, Alex Sexton, same thing. There's some really good young race car drivers, but it's all how they're coached.
Oh, absolutely. The hand signals don't always count, right?
They don't help. Yeah, they don't help.
Well, I know we've definitely kept you way long, Buju. Did you have any other questions that you wanted to ask or anything that you wanted to touch base on?
I think we covered everything.
All right. So again, Kenny, definitely, thank you for all your time. I know we kept you way longer, but you had a lot to cover and a lot to look into with all the things coming out. And I think for mini wedges, Matt Curl from Fairbury Speedway, when we were walking through Lane Automotive, he said, so that's what a mini wedge is. And he's the owner down there at Fairbury. And he did a nice presentation, of course, but that's something that a lot of people, when I'm at the Rumble, I get so many, what's that? And it's the wedge nose. It's different, right? You don't see that everywhere. And I know it's expanding. You see a lot more tracks. It's getting out there. I know with Wedge Innovations, at PRI, they've helped, kind of grow that, but there's still such a huge area in this country that they have no idea what a mini wedge is. They don't, that's not a thing they see.
It's kind of crazy how long the mini wedge has been around. I mean, it really has been around for quite a while. But I think it's just ready to explode. It really is. I mean, I know Todd was telling me the car that he had built that he delivered at Lane, that was chassis 107. I mean, that's 107 chassis that he's built. So I mean, that's a lot just around us. That's just a local one. Actually, had two guy shop or whatever, but three counting Chris. But there's the whole thing is ready just to explode, and it's I think that we're on the verge of. I would really dare to say probably we'll end up with somewhere between 30 and 35 cars before the end of summer, as far as a weekly thing at Kalamazoo itself.
I just think of where that was at one point, where it's kind of ebbs and flows, right? And other areas have dealt with that too. It just wasn't just a Kalamazoo thing, but again, I just knowing at the Rumble, the kudos that your team got. Obviously, when I reached out to sponsor you and your trip down to the Rumble, we had our conversation where I'm like, I believe in what you're doing. I see what you're doing. I know, not only did I know you as a racer, right, and got a chance to cover you that way weekly at Kalamazoo, very lucky and honored to do that. But then I see everything that you're doing for this developmental program, and it's like you're taking it in a direction that you're trying to put that longevity, right? You want this to be around. You want those kids to grow up and go race. And it may not even be Kalamazoo, right? They come from all over, but
Anywhere.
You want them in a car, right? To keep the sport going. So again, definitely huge kudos to you. Huge kudos to your team that you've built, and huge kudos to the kids, right? Because they're in there, they're showcasing, they're, going out there, having the time of their life and learning sportsmanship and how to win and how to lose and how to do promotions and how to do driver interviews. And that's something that you're giving them that experience to do on a pretty big stage and in a small area. So again, I cannot sing your praises enough.
I appreciate that. One thing I wanted to bring up too is we have our names are still going to be Kalamazoo Speedway Mini Wedges, and we still have Berlin Raceway Mini Wedges, but our blanket, I want to say, which our organization is actually called Family Fun Mini Wedges. And we take that's what we take very serious is safety's first, but then you got to have fun. But if you can't do those two things, you're not going to be with us. But I appreciate you guys, what you're doing, and thank you for the platform to put this out on tonight. Can't wait. 5 weeks, man. We're going to be at the track. So
close.
Can't wait.
The South Auto Show means it's time to go, right? Because that's in March, and that means right after that, we're going to start making all those wraps look like, oh, you've been here for a while. No, I actually pulled out of the trailer, but what's that big donut there, right? Like, we got to rough them up a little bit. So again, certainly, Kenny, thank you. And for people who don't know, follow along with the Kalamazoo Speedway Mini Wedges on Facebook, Kalamazoo Speedway Mini Wedge Series. on Facebook. It was tagged in all the promotionals coming up to this. So certainly give them a follow. I saw it's like at 700 something. So that's certainly growing. Obviously this, for people who don't know, if they missed it, it's on YouTube and Facebook. It'll be there. I'm not posting anything after this tonight and won't until about 6 p.m. tomorrow. So it'll be up for a while. And then it'll also be on Spotify for people who aren't on Facebook or YouTube. They can get it on Spotify video version, and then they'll be able to also, if they want to just listen to it, they'll be able to listen to it on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. So it's all over. Try to get it out there. And again, I know we took you for almost an hour, so I mean that's just kudos to you for sticking around. It didn't feel like an hour. I looked at the clock. I'm like, oh shoot, hopefully somebody I kept him a while.
I appreciate it. Like I said, I appreciate you guys. Buju, it was very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Ken.
Lewis, and I appreciate you guys. This right here, quite honestly, is another avenue that's going to keep this sport alive. And my goal is to make it so my grandkids can do the same thing that we're doing tonight. So that's what I want to see. So that I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me. Maybe we'll talk again soon.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and Buju and I, we have a little bit of news that we're going to be kind of sharing here. If you're ready to share it, Buju, for our Thursday thing, or are you not ready?
Oh, yeah. You almost broke it to me there for a second.
Another avenue that we'll certainly highlight the mini wedges on is that Buju and I, because Drew and I are going to have Buju not only as a co-host with us, but a fill-in if one of us can't be available, like Drew is traveling today. But then for Buju and I, we want to tackle on Thursday Night Throttle. So where Monday rewinds the weekend, Thursday we throttle up for the weekend, where we preview, races all around the area. So we'll certainly be plugging the mini wedges to get people out there on a Sunday or even the week before. Hey, coming up this Wednesday at Berlin. And try to include, especially for people coming to mini wedges, here's the price to get into the pit, but you can sit wherever. It's just $10 to get in for fans and that kind of deal. And obviously drivers, or I think they're $10 too, aren't they?
Yep.
And then the $20 registration. So that's something that, we've been working on a logo. As I've had time, but we want to start a Thursday night thing as race season gets closer, just to kind of throttle up for the weekend, right? Get people excited, promote the tracks that are coming up, places to go, because again, we're just at a time. Let's get fans in the stands. Let's do everything we can within our power. And certainly Buju, with his passion that he has for this, I'm excited for our little side project that we have on Thursdays. And as you said, we have a platform that we can use to do this, where even if we can get one or two more people out, especially 2 mini wedges, imagine those kids looking out and going, there's a couple hundred people here. Where did that happen from? Right. It's not just parents, that it's people coming out and supporting that next generation of racer, because, those kids, they really appreciate it. Even when I'm there, like top rows here. And it makes me feel like, oh, okay. This is pretty cool. They're excited to see me. Right. And we're all in it for them. Right. And we're all in it to do our part. So we're certainly going to be plugging those mini wedges quite a bit to hopefully get people to come and check them out once.
We appreciate that part of it, and then hopefully our website will have all of our standings and all that stuff, so you'll be able to pull it right off from that also too. Awesome. Without even talking to us. But I mean, I'm interested in talking anytime you are. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to a great 2026.
All right. Well, definitely good luck. And I know we'll be crossing paths here in a few weeks.
Sounds good, Lewis. Thank you.
All right. Again, thank you, Kenny. And again, guys, thank you tonight. I know we kept a lot of people. This is our longest show, and not quite on purpose, but we had a lot going on, a lot to cover with Eric Hoffman from MCR Dwarfs, and then obviously with Kenny and all the news that coming out of Land Automotive and going into the season. So Buju, I know I said 8:15 is about our time, but I definitely didn't feel like that went by that quick. I mean, we topped out. I think it was like 51 people at one point were watching, and it's ebbed and flowed. And so certainly everyone, thank you for. Oh, Drew's coming on. So thank you guys for sticking around.
We're in trouble.
I don't know. But to remind everybody, please share this out, help get this is every Monday at 7 p.m. Last week's episode was just crazy. I mean, the numbers there, and Drew and I, our goal for this is we're not in competition with anybody. We're not doing, we're doing this just to put a spotlight on, our area and what's going on. Certainly, with Mini Wedges, giving them a shout out. So, I see some people who really want to shout out. So they've been asking like a lot. So if you beg, you shall receive. And Kenzie, she did a really nice job at the Rumble. I don't know if you've seen Kenzie race, but she did a really nice job. And then I know Caleb, he's been at it. So I feel like
Oh
since
yeah,
I took a photo the other
Caleb's
day.
my boy.
So
Caleb knows he's my boy.
So again, thank you guys, Buju. Thank you for joining, but share this, like it, continue the conversation going on. It was a very healthy conversation tonight. So if someone missed it, it will be on Facebook. I'm not posting anything until about 6 p.m. tomorrow, so it's easy to find. It'll be the first thing on my page, other than the March Motor Madness. At 8 a.m., that graphic will post. But other than that, not posting anything else. And then obviously it's on YouTube. And like I said, it's on Spotify. As soon as I download it, it'll be video form on Spotify. And then that converts automatically over to audio versions on iHeartRadio. Oh yeah, we did that. Wait, didn't we do that? And iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. So definitely share it out, get it out there. Next Monday, we have Sage Hannah and Charlie Hannah are joining. And then we also have Melinda Russell from the Women's Motorsports Network. She'll be coming on. So I'm excited for her, especially with March being Women's History Month. So Buju, anything to say? Any last words?
It was fun to be here again. Thank you for having me. And I'm excited to do some Thursdays here soon.
Oh yeah, and that'll start. I know people asked. Probably closer to race season. We might try something, next Thursday, because we have Drew's Enduro. We maybe can do a test pilot and just figure out what that's going to look like, right? So, so maybe we'll give it a test run. But then next week I'm at South Bend Auto Show, and I don't know if I'm going to have the time organizing everything. But I don't know. Maybe you can just run the show, and I'll be like, Buju, you just tell them whatever, and we'll figure it out later. But again, guys, thank you so much. We'll see you all later next week, and soon enough, it's almost time to turn left.
See you at the races.
See you at the races.